In Miraculous Ladybug, each of our main heroes has a Kwami that grants them their special power and superhero identity. But what a lot of people may not realize is that each of these Kwamis is meant to be put into a yin-yang pairing for balance. This was made obvious in the episode Furious Fu, where the previous Miraculous Guardian, Master Su-Han, demands that all of the Kwami get into their yin-yang pairings and back in the Miraculous box. Yin and Yang is an ancient Chinese concept of darkness and light, or destruction and creation. The two are meant to be thought of as two extremes of the same idea, with destruction being necessary for creation to occur, so that one thing can turn into something else. These ideas are represented by Tiki, the Kwami of creation and light, representing the side of Yang, with Plague, the Kwami of destruction, and darkness representing the side of Yin. Because of this, Plague is able to give Cat Noir the power of endless destruction with his Cataclysm, and Tiki is able to give Ladybug the power to create solutions with her Lucky Charms. The elements of luck also finds itself in this yin-yang balance, with black cats being well known to represent bad luck in Western tradition. Ladybugs, meanwhile, are associated with good luck in a variety of cultures, particularly in China, where they are considered a sign of blessing. This makes the power of destruction and creation complementary, bringing balance to the world instead of too much destruction or creation in particular. And we see this symbolism affect the relationship of their wielders, Marinette and Adrien. In the beginning, Adrien was in love with Ladybug, but didn't quite notice Marinette. Meanwhile, Marinette had feelings for Adrien and didn't quite care for Cat Noir. Their personal outfits embody this as well, with Marinette having a white shirt surrounded by a black garment, and Adrien having a black shirt surrounded by a white garment. This makes Marinette look like the small dot of yang, or light, that exists within the dark yin, and Adrien thus looks like the small amount of dark yin that exists surrounded by the yang. The reason for showing Marinette and Adrien as being surrounded by their opposing element is that it's meant to represent how their element is trapped in the wrong lifestyle. Adrien has the black shirt on because he is yin, destruction, but he's surrounded by white, which is creation or order. This creation and order that surrounds Adrien comes from his father and the strict control he has over him. The constant lessons and photo shoots and other projects that prevent Adrien from being his wild, fun, and chaotic true self. He is destruction being forced into order. When he transforms into Cat Noir, his suit becomes fully black because he gets to become the full version of Yin, the complete darkness or destruction. In a way, Adrien is the fake identity, with Cat Noir being his true self, the version that he wants to be all the time. Marinette, meanwhile, is the opposite. When she transforms, she doesn't turn white, but she does turn red and black, with the Ladybug red being used to represent the white of Yang in the show. She is orderly and tries to be organized, but she exists within chaos, a world that doesn't have much structure. Marinette desires to provide structure by over-planning, and she gets to embrace that when she becomes Ladybug, the one who ultimately establishes order at the end of each episode, even though she wasn't able to do this in her personal life when surrounded by chaos. Tiki and Plague thus set the basis for yin-yang pairings of the show, and they make quite a team, which is all the more reason you should get this Ladybug and Black Cat inspired yin-yang shirt that we're selling at the Cartoon Universe shop. Links in the description down below. But they're far from the only pairing that has this yin-yang symbolism. Now, what most people want us to discuss is how the yin-yang pairings might be in the show's new ending theme, which, after Marinette and Adrien, cycles through popular duos on the show, while also hinting at possible connections between some characters later. This included the characters in their super suits and what a lot of fans hope are yin-yang pairings, but this may not always be the case. The evidence for this comes from the fact that 12 of the 19 Kwami in the Miracle Box are based on the Chinese zodiac. With the Chinese zodiac, certain traditions assign them into yin-yang pairings, and most of the ending theme and general pairings in the show doesn't reflect this. Though there is not some singular tradition that I'm aware of for these pairings, and there are different ones that contradict each other, and even have triangles of compatibility instead of just yin-yang pairings. The only yin-yang pairing in the show to match some of these Chinese zodiacs that I'm aware of is Mei Lin and Ivan, the couple who hold the miraculous of the mouse and the ox. They're one of the more distant couples from the core cast, being given miraculous rarely until season 6, but their pairing perfectly matches the real-life yin-yang pairings of their Kwami zodiac. In the show, the ox and mouse make sense as complementary opposites, with the ox being the big, strong, brute strength animal, and the mouse being the smaller pack animal. The ox is strength unified, and the mouse is strength divided. Because of this, Ivan uses the Kwami of the Ox, Stomp, to turn into Minotaur Ox. His powers are invincibility, allowing him to take greater damage and block attacks while using his strength to attack the enemies when others can. Meilin, meanwhile, uses Molo, the Kwami of the Mouse, to become Polymouse. Molo grants Polymouse the power of multiplication, turning her into many smaller versions of herself that can handle a lot of different smaller missions all together or separately. It's easy for me to see how these two could be their own superhero duo, even in their own show. Meilin and Ivan are so activism focused that each episode could explore them trying to do some activist related protest or what have you, that eventually turns to them having to use their power in order to save the day and the environment. Ivan as Minotaur Ox would be the fighter like Cat Noir, and Meilin would be the strategist who uses his strength and distraction in battle to defeat the bad guy, much like Ladybug. After this, the Kwami don't appear to have yin-yang pairings in the ending theme based on the Chinese zodiac, and in fact, a lot of the pairings we see in the show contradict the zodiac by mixing zodiac Kwami with Kwami that aren't in the zodiac. And Marinette's Miracle Box is supposed to only have 19 Kwami, which is an odd number, meaning that if everyone has a perfect yin-yang pairing, there is going to be one who is left out. After Adrien and Marinette as Cat Noir and Ladybug, it makes sense that the second couple shown in the ending theme is Nino and Alia as Rena Rouge and Carapace. Nino uses the Kwami of the turtle ways to turn into Carapace, where, like with a turtle's shell, he is able to provide great shields to those around him. Alia, meanwhile, uses Tricks, the Kwami of the fox, to turn into Rena Rouge with the power of illusion. These two I can see making sense as complementary or yin-yang powers, with Rena's illusions providing great tricks against an enemy, and Carapace's shields defending her. But what they lack is an offensive power. It's because of this that the yin-yang pairing of the fox and the turtle is itself a perfect yin-yang pairing for the Ladybug and Cat Noir. Ladybug and Cat Noir already make a great pair, but it makes sense that they would each have a complementary friend who balances them out. And of course, that those friends would end up dating each other. With Alia and Nino reflecting the relationship of Marinette and Adrien, it makes sense that their powers would be among the most useful to simply helping Ladybug and Cat Noir, complementing them both. Ladybug's power is creation, but that involves strategy, and illusion is the perfect complement to that. Cat Noir, meanwhile, is the one who does the punch. He's the big offensive guy. And with him being super strong, it makes sense that his complementary friend would also be someone who could shield him. This development hints that these pairings we see in the ending theme are likely very purposeful, even if they aren't the actual yin-yang pairings when it comes to the Chinese zodiac. After Nino and Alia, the new ending transitions to Sabrina and Zoe, two characters who aren't currently close, but who have the obvious connection of Chloe Bourgeois. The dog Miraculous Bark, interestingly, is based on the real-life Chinese zodiac of the dog, but here he's not paired up with another zodiac Kwami, being paired instead with the Bee Miraculous. In the Chinese zodiac, the dog is generally considered to be paired well with the tiger, horse, or rabbit, but it's hard to imagine how any of those powers in the show could be complementary to Bark's. With the power of the dog Miraculous, Bark turns Sabrina into Miss Hound, who can use her magical ball to fetch any item that it touches. By simply bouncing it against the desired object or even tapping it, she can bring any item to her. This is a hard power to pair, but with the Bee Miraculous, there is something of an overlap, I'd say. The Bee Miraculous allows Pollen to turn Zoe into Vesperia, who uses the power of Venom to freeze her enemies. Both powers are about removing elements from play in the battle, with the Dog Miraculous focusing more so on objects, and the Bee Miraculous focusing on freezing enemies. The goal with this pairing in the show is more so focused around Zoe and Sabrina, I think, who could have a potential romance or at least a friendship bonding over life without Chloe in Season 6 and beyond. But consider checking out my previous video on the potential couples of Miraculous Ladybug for more information on that. Following this, the end theme switches to Kagami and Felix, holders of the dragon and peacock Miraculous, another case of only one of these being a zodiac sign. The dragon is the most unique of the Chinese zodiac signs because the dragon is a mythical animal instead of one of the other well-known 11 animals. The dragon, interestingly, is supposed to be a bad pair with the dog, which was actually held by Felix before he received the peacock Miraculous. While Kagami and Felix seem like the perfect couple with how strange they are, this could signal some incompatibility down the road perhaps. For now, their powers don't seem to complement each other either, with the Kwami of the peacock, Dusu, turning Felix into Argos and giving him the ability to create Sentimonsters. Meanwhile, the dragon of the Kwami, named Long, turns Kagami into Ryoko, with power over elemental weather, such as water, wind, and lightning. This is pretty cool, but not one that really balances out the power of creating Sentimonsters, I'd say, and perhaps it was never meant to. Early on, it seemed like the peacock was meant to be paired with the butterfly, being the two miraculous that made it into the hands of Gabriel and Natalie. Their powers certainly seem to overlap in fun ways, with the peacock creating sentimonsters capable of real human emotions. The butterfly miraculous, meanwhile, has the power to exploit the emotions of living beings in order to give them powers. There's so much overlap here that sentimonsters themselves have been akumatized, so it makes sense that these two miraculous might be complementary or dangerous as a pairing. But it leaves the question of which Kwami might be the odd one out then. Perhaps the dragon itself is the only one meant not to have a pairing because the dragon itself is called the Kwami of Perfection. But this just might not be something the show has really thought about too much. After Kagami and Felix, the ending theme transitions to Nathaniel and Mark, two characters who are often seen together but don't get much attention compared to the main cast. Nathaniel wields Ziggy, the goat Kwami, which allows him to transform into Caprikid. His power, Genesis, lets him create objects out of thin air using a magical paintbrush. Mark, on the other hand, has Oriko, the rooster Kwami, who transforms him into Rooster Bold. His power, Sublimation, is supposed to grant him any power that he wants as long as it doesn't cover the powers of an existing Kwami. At first glance, their abilities don't seem to be a natural yin-yang pairing. Caprikid's Genesis power focuses on creating physical objects, which can be helpful, but Rooster Bold's power to create any ability is really just a bit too strong in my opinion. However, the two are clearly in a relationship together, so they themselves are once again the yin-yang pairing, with the yin-yang powers of their Kwami probably not being something too well thought out here, as despite how powerful Oriko can be, Nathaniel and Mark are two of the least called upon members of the group. Next up in the ending theme is Rose and Julika, another well-known couple in the show. Rose has Daisy, the pig Kwami, and becomes Pigella. Her power, Jubilation, allows her to show a person their greatest dream or desire, essentially creating an illusion of happiness that can be used to distract or calm an enemy. This ability is important when it comes to fighting enemies based on emotional powers. Julika, meanwhile, has the tiger of the Kwami, Roar, who transforms her into Purple Tigress. Her power, Clout, gives her a strong shockwave-enhanced physical strike. With a ripple effect you might think of like a tiger's roar. Rose and Julika are a natural yin-yang pairing because of how bright and positive Rose is, and because of how dark Julika is. Rose, meanwhile, likes to be rather loud, and Julika struggles to speak. Rose's power with the pig allows people to celebrate their emotions, whereas Julika's power allows her to celebrate the sort of pent-up emotion that she has from keeping quiet, allowing it to come out in a loud roar. Following Rose and Julika, the ending theme moves to Max and Kim, two characters who seem like total opposites, but that makes them complementary. Max wields Kalki, the horse Kwami, and becomes Pegasus. He has the power of Voyage, which allows him to open portals and teleport anywhere he wants. Max, like Marinette, is more of a strategist, and this is the perfect power for a strategist to help people who are more physical. Max is great friends, meanwhile, with Kim, the holder of the Monkey Miraculous, containing the Kwami Zupu. With his help, Max transforms into King Monkey, who uses his power Uproar to create chaos by forcing his enemies' weapons to backfire. Kim is something of a trickster while also wanting to be a hero, so this is a great blend of powers for him. And when paired with Max and Kalki, it makes sense that he could use this to great advantage in large-scale battles. Meanwhile, their own personalities also meet that yin-yang balance requirement, with Max focusing on intelligence and strategy, and Kim using the power of the monkey to battle even beyond the chaos that he causes. The final pair in the ending theme is Alex and Luca, holders of the Bunny and Snake Miraculous, and their connection is one of the most unique in the entire show. Alex has Fluff, the Bunny Kwami, and transforms into Bunnix. This gives her the power of Burrow, which allows her to travel through time and fix disruptions. This makes her one of the most important heroes as she's tasked with maintaining the stability of the timeline and where it's trying to go. Luca, meanwhile, wields Sass, the Snake Kwami, and becomes Viperion. His power is also time travel based, called Second Chance, allowing him to rewind for just a short period, giving him and the group the ability to correct mistakes or retry an action if something goes wrong. At first, they seem like a perfect yin-yang pairing because they both have time-related powers, but from what I understand, the Bunny and Snake are also considered a bad pairing in the Chinese zodiac. This makes sense as Alex is apparently aromantic, and unlike a lot of the other pairings in this ending theme, this is probably not romantic. Instead, what makes these two a perfect complementary pair is just how far apart they are from each other and from everyone else. Both look like cooler, edgy side characters who both receive incredible time travel powers, but it comes with a cost. Bunnix has to live outside of time, ensuring no one abuses her ability specifically, while Luca must leave Paris to protect Marinette's secret identity from falling into the wrong hands after he learns it because of his own power. They are both separated from the main cast, each forced to take on a burden that distances them from their friends. Finally, with us talking about all of these new heroes, I want to talk about the odd one out again, Nuru, the Kwami of the butterfly. Nuru is currently held by Lila Rossi, with Lila Rossi just being one of the many names that this character has gone by. Right now, the show is claiming her real name is Cerise Bianca, but we've seen her use other identities with weird fake mothers in the show as well. The point here is that she has such a fractured sense of identity that when she puts on the Miraculous of the butterfly, she becomes the supervillain known as Chrysalis, a reference to the idea that she has not blossomed from her cocoon yet and become an actual butterfly, that she's transforming. In this form, she seems to have many different voices, reflecting the fractured mental state and the different identities inside of her head. And we can already see her taking her game to the next level, not just by akumatizing people, but by creating anti-akumas to use as well. But what do you guys think? These are all the yin-yang pairings as they appear in the show so far at least, but none of these are really official or confirmed, so it's hard to say if this is what they meant when Master Suhan came in and told all the Kwami to get into yin-yang pairings. Let me know your thoughts, theories, or differences of opinion in the comments down below, and I am once again reminding you that you should buy a yin and yang t-shirt with the ladybug and black cat on it. Let me know what your favorite pairing in the show is, and we'll try to get some t-shirts out for those pairings in the weeks to come, and I'll see you guys next time.